Kaizaki Arata is a 27-year-old slacker who can't hold a job and whose parents have decided to stop sending him money to help out. One day after spending the evening out with his fellas and getting drunk, Arata gets approached by someone named Yaoke Ryo. Ryo is a ReLIFE Research Institute employee, who then explains to Arata his work and asks him to participate in an experiment with ReLIFE Institute. He presents Arata with a pill, a part of an experiment which will make him look younger. The whole idea makes Arata doubt Ryo. If someone presents you with something like this, you'd definitely find it fishy. However, after presenting the advantages of this experiment as paying all the bills and offering a stable job after the experiment, Arata agrees. Arata returns home after the meeting with Ryo, and when he wakes up the next day, he has taken the pill. He was so drunk that he didn't remember taking the pill. God damn. Ryo pays Arata a visit in the morning. After signing a contract with Ryo, Arata enrolls in the third-year high school chosen by ReLIFE Research Institute, but has a rough first day, showing how different the school is from when Arata attended high school. When he ends up finding a suitable seat in the classroom, he ends up leaving it because it belongs to Hishora, his classmate. It doesn't get any better once he settles in the proper seat, and when Arata later finds out about the class test, it completely screws him as he's unprepared. While returning home, Arata meets Ryo, who makes Arata realize the opportunity ReLIFE has given him to improve his life this time. The next day, Arata receives his test results, which show he absolutely bombed all sections of his exam. Yet the other students, with whom he has become friends, are startled at how poorly he performed. As a result, Oga Kazuomi instructs him along with An, who also failed her examinations. Meanwhile, Karyu has a competition with Hishido to reach the top of the class, but it appears to be a failure, as Hishido reclaims the top spot again. To begin their group study, Oga, An, and Arata have lunch together, where Arata finds Hishido having trouble getting meals. He ends up assisting her and she expresses her gratitude. Arata notices how different school is now from the time he was in high school. In his time, cell phones were banned at his school, and if you were discovered with one, the teachers would take it. However, when Arata looks around the cafeteria, he notices everyone has their cell phones. Ironically, Arata's having a hard time adjusting to this planet. When Arata visits the staff room to submit his apology letter, he runs across Hishido, and the two begin conversing to know each other and end up becoming friends. She further explains how her unapproachable smile has kept her from making close friends. It hilariously terrifies both Arata and me. However, Arata has later warned, as none of her friends or teachers will remember in the present time, a 17-year-old Arata does not exist, but he chooses to make a memory. In school, Arata finds a letter from Hishido when he opens his locker and discovers as she was trying to return the borrowed money in a friendly and humorous way, but has also folded Hideo, which Arata finds funny. Arata injures himself in gym class, and Ryo explains that despite his youthful appearance, Arata's physique is still physiologically of a 27-year-old man. Now here's where the perk of switching to your younger self loses its spark. Anyway, Hishido follows Arata's advice and tries to make friends by smiling more. But Kaido misinterprets her forced smiles as Hishido ridicules her. Kaido also discovers that seeing Hishido as an academic competitor, Hishido has no idea who Kaido was, forcing Kaido to have a hard relationship with Hishido and herself. Ryo starts jotting notes of everything that happened the day before, and opens two binders designated Subject 1 and Subject 2. Subject 2 is Arata, but we have no idea who Subject 1 is yet. Based on the notes from Yoaki, 1 was a challenging experiment. In 001, there were no noteworthy changes, but in 002, Arata, there were multiple modifications every day. Ryo's research on Arata appears to be more good than negative. Kaido reflects on her self-worth in terms of achievement, and she recalls feeling both proud and happy the previous year for being the class representative alongside Oga, whom she has affection for. Kairiru begins to worry less about herself as now she has lost both the class representative position and her spot by Oga's side because of Hishido, who is now the class representative. Hishido, who has just appeared, smiles at Kaido, but she misinterprets the gesture as mocking, which has the unintended effect of lowering Kaido's self-worth. Oga, who is carrying class notes, drops some of them, and Hishido rushes over to pick them up and offers to assist him, which irritates Kaido since she doesn't want her to be friends with Oga. And here comes the high school love jealousy. When Oga and Hishido depart for class, Karyu stands behind, enraged, and has bothersome remarks to Hishido, accusing her of ridiculing her for her flaws. Hishido, on the other hand, is unaware of Karyu's feelings and informs Arata as she has become friends with Karyu. One night, Karyu notices Hishido has also remained late at school and steals her school bag in revenge for her imagined mistreatment, but Arata catches her. However, both fall down a flight of stairs as Arata tries to stop her. When Hishido approaches down the stairs, she misinterprets Arata and Karyu's hugging, causing her to freeze in surprise. Arata awakens in the nurse's office, where the nurse informs Hishido has brought Arata and Karyu's stuff here. At the same time, Arata wonders why Karyu would grab Hishido's luggage when Karyu is still knocked out. Between Hishido and Karyu, there has been a lot of misunderstanding about becoming friends. When Karyu awakens, Arata interrogates her about why she took Hishido's bag, to which Karyu responds as she only intended to cause Hishido trouble because she was jealous. As a result, Arata isn't angry with Karyu but feels sorry for her. Arata then gives Karyu a lecture, which is more like him, a 27-year-old mature man. Karyu eventually breaks down and sobs, leaving Arata to console her. When Arata goes, he comes face to face with Hishido, who had been waiting for him the entire time. She had been thinking about the whole thing and asked Arata about it, to which he said Karyu did it because she was envious of the silver pin Hishido had. When Arata goes home, Ryo urges him to listen in on Hishido and Karyu's conversation. Boy's curiosity. Hishido and Karyu eventually become friends after knowing each other, and later that day, Ryo and Arata celebrate by drinking beer at Arata's house because Arata assisted Hishido and Karyu in becoming friends. Arata, who is still asleep, receives a phone call from Oga because he had forgotten about his group study with An and Oga. When Oga informs Arata about he and An standing outside his door, Arata panics and orders them to wait. He quickly picks up the trash, sprays the room with freshener, hides his cigarettes, and then welcomes them in. When Oga and An enter, they immediately begin looking around, and Oga discovers a mini-disc, which she claims most youngsters have never heard of. Arata gives them a drink, claiming the only thing he has is tea, but when he opens his refrigerator, it's brimming with beer. Oga starts the group study, and after putting in a lot of effort, he goes through An and Arata's answers. He's perplexed about how Arata has been admitted to the prep school and sees him as a moron. When it comes to An, Oga notes how much time she spends on her phone, and Arata inquires whether it's a lover, to which An responds with sexual harassment. Of course, Arata is taken aback by such a response until An assures him that she was joking. He warns An and Arata about their midterms, which are coming up, and they must pass these makeups. There will be other makeups if they do not pass the midterms. Arata's job interviews are marked on a calendar, which he throws across the room in response to An's inquiry, claiming there was a bug on the wall. While all this is happening, Ryo has linked to ReLIFE's surveillance area and is basically seeing what's going on in Arata's house on his phone. An, as a ReLIFE employee, proceeds to open up to Arata about ReLIFE and how she was the one who chose him for Ryo, to which Ryo responds with a sharp "shut up" expression. When Arata learns the truth, he becomes confused, and Ryo and An apologize profusely for not telling him the whole truth. Ryo recalls his time on Subject 001 and how he met Arata, who would eventually become Subject 002. He further remembers his support for Subject 1 of the ReLIFE project as he writes his report on Arata's improvement. Ryo's bosses scolded him for getting too engaged in the subject's life. He was also urged to look for Arata, who may be Subject 2 in the ReLIFE experiment. Subject 1's results were declared a failure after a year since the individual in question had not altered at all. An encourages Ryo not to lose despite his inability to support Subject 1, as Arata has been chosen as Subject 2 and Ryo has been allocated as his supporter. Despite Arata's problems, Ryo concludes his assessment by noting Arata's progress. It all starts when he runs into Arata while passing by a convenience store on his way down the street and discovers him working inside. As a result, he walks into the store and watches him. He decides to go out to eat, and after paying, Roy chooses to put him to the test by leaving his wallet on the table. When Arata finds it, he rushes out of the store to give Ryo the wallet. He observes Arata is aware of his surroundings and quick to act in comparison to the difficult subject he had before Arata. Because Ryo fails the first subject and is upset, An encourages him because he's a great supporter. Ryo's passionate about his work, irrespective of Arata. Anyway, Arata calls Ryo and requests to bring him the medicine to take him back, since he has thought and doesn't want to lose his job or his friends. At first, Ryo is scared, and he tells Arata to just sever the connections. When Ryo finds Arata at work, he profusely apologizes to his boss and indicates Arata has quit. At some point in the future, Arata's life will change dramatically. Ryo is now with his high school friends and is happy while having lunch with them. Arata has failed his examinations again, while An has finally passed hers. On the teacher's summon, Arata is growing upset with himself in the staff room, but one great thing has already happened. Arata has changed a little bit, which is pretty much what ReLIFE's purpose is. Hanoka, Karyu's friend and competitor, appears in the staff room since she has also failed. When the instructor leaves Hanoka and Arata alone, Hanoka speaks openly about her school life. Later on, when she meets Karyu, she assures An and Oga are not in a relationship. Hanoka leaves the school one day after volleyball practice, and it begins to rain. She dashes back to school to see if she can locate an umbrella, and as she passes through the locker room, she overhears other girls gossiping about her. However, Karyu screams at the girls. Meanwhile, Arata prepares for the makeup test on his own, while Hanoka receives assistance from Aki. Arata fails yet again, but Hanoka passes. While having the practice match, Hanoka accidentally spreads balls all over the court, leaving Karyu to step on them and hurt her ankle. Despite Hanoka's apologies, Karyu subsequently screams at her, enraging Aki and Nobu. It's adorable to watch two guys concerned for their girl best friend. So Hanoka approaches Hishido and asks if she wants to have lunch with her, and when Hishido inquires about Karyu, Hanoka tenses up. Karyu had returned to school and told her teacher she would be fine in 2 weeks. Hishido, concerned about Karyu's absence from volleyball practice, pays a visit to Arata at his home. Prepare yourself for an emotional rollercoaster journey. Hanoka admits her genuine thoughts towards Karyu when Arata and Hishido approach her in the locker room, which Karyu overhears. When Hishido, Arata, and Hanoka emerge from the locker room, they're confronted by Hanoka's friend and Karyu, while Karyu flees after being apprehended. When Arata returns home, he receives a text from Hishido, in which she basically informs him she wants to discuss something with Hanoka, but can't do it without him. Ryo contacts Arata shortly after and inquires about his plans for the next day. He teases Arata as he knows Arata is going to watch a volleyball match with her. So the tournament starts the next day, and Karyu is nowhere to be found. Hishido pays her a visit with the help of Ryo, and when Arata prevents Karyu from closing the door on them, they're able to get entry and begin conversing with her. But when Karyu starts arguing again, Arata begs her to let her iron guard down at least once. Karyu, being as stubborn as a mule, refuses to do it until Hishido becomes enraged enough to smack Karyu across the face, causing Karyu to tremble to the floor. Hishido reprimands Karyu, ordering her to quit being a fool, whilst Arata is taken aback by Hishido's actions. When Arata has informed the team has lost the first set, they rush their way into the competition with Karyu. Nonetheless, they lose the match, but Karyu rebuilds her relationship with Hanoka, and they both praise Hishido for her assistance. Boys who are spying on girls again notify them because their last match is about to begin, and Karyu and Hanoka rush to the court, while Hishido stands with tears in her eyes and her usual weird smile on her face. Arata approaches Roy and requests to seek the medicine to get changed back. Roy is first concerned, but then informs Arata as this is the second time he has requested it, the first time being when he quit work to experiment. It's for visiting a grave, as Arata explains, and Roy, for some reason, already knows. It turns out Arata's friend died on this day. She had been his trainer when he was a new hire at a firm called Black Company, which is basically a horrible place to work at. Roy provides the medication and they both take it and wait for its effect. Roy and Arata had met on the street 4 months before, and Arata had become their experiment. Roy teases him during the train ride and asks whether he looks unhappy since the ReLIFE is coming to an end shortly. Later, they pay a visit to Saiki's grave, where Arata discusses how Saiki was his trainer when he was a new recruit and how she murdered herself, prompting Arata to resign. A voice cries out to Arata as Roy and Arata are ready to leave the cemetery. They were 2 new recruits at the firm where Arata used to work, and they immediately struck up a conversation with him. Arata is unhappy on the way home, assuming Ryo arranged the encounter. He denies it, but the favor he asked on earlier was to keep an eye out for these people. It works because Arata is delighted he quit, he met the 2 people, and his voice has finally reached others. Arata admits he would never be able to say anything if there was no ReLIFE. Arata indirectly discusses with Oga love and how important it is. When Oga and Arata observe a man with Kaido, Oga runs to her where he knows Kaido had suffered from heat stroke, and the man had helped her. Oga walks Kaido home but learns later that night he loves her and asks for help from everyone. Oga invites Kaido to the summer festival. However, Kaido goes to take advice from the other girls on this issue. Kaido sought the help of Hanoka and Hishido to get her and Oga alone at the fireworks festival so she could express her affections to him. Arata, An, Ryo, Hishido, and the others split up at the festival to give Oga and Kaido some alone time, as they suspected Oga intended to confess to Kaido as well. Arata and Hishido are likewise left alone intentionally by Ryo and An. Don't lie, who else got butterflies at this moment? Youthful confessions are always emotional. Kaido and Oga express their emotions for one another, and as the fireworks begin, Hishido makes Arata know she was overjoyed to meet him. Hishido recalls everything which happened since the beginning of the school year. Arata takes Hishido home after the festival, and despite realizing she has fallen in love with her, he decides not to confess to her because everyone he met in high school will forget him after his real life is over. It all ends wrapped in a sweet slice of emotions when Arata expresses he will never forget Hishido, and she responds that she will never forget him. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.